And I've been an entrepreneur since the day I was born.
Without further ado, here he is, the People's Shark, Daymond John.
All right, how you doing? Thank you. Thank you. What's up, AP? Thanks for having me, man. All right.
Welcome to the last part of this luncheon. We have the fortune of having Daymond John, and many of you are here because of a connection to AP. And one thing that is always in question once you meet AP is, how does he know all the people he knows? Many of the giggle have experienced this. And when I first met AP, he was just like, I'm best friends with, he put out a name or whatever, and then like 6 months later, you run this person, they'd say, AP's my best friend. And it went on and on and on. And one of those people is Daymond John here, where they've known each other for about 20 years, roughly. I've known Daymond for about 5 years. And it's one of those things of having AP in your life, you never know who's gonna show up. So we're very blessed to have Daymond fly in from Boston to talk with us here today. And we're gonna cover a little bit about entrepreneurship, employment, education for veterans. And obviously people wanna learn a little bit about you as well. To start that, I'll just kind of jump in is, how do you overcome your fear of failure?
Well, I think I take tiny steps and I don't take huge leaps, but I continue to take very small steps until I gain the confidence on what I want to do. And even before I take those steps, I kind of research what I'm going to do. And I know that no matter what, it's a good chance that I'm going to fail, but I want to get in there as equipped as possible, and I fail fast. And I do a couple of things. I always surround myself with people who know more about the challenge or where I'm going to, the challenge I'm going to take on. I have some goals, and I say, if I hit this marker, then I keep going. If I keep going, I keep going. And then I also have the reality of, if I don't hit it, when do I quit and how do I quit?
Okay. So going back to your early success in FUBU, how did that get started? And I know there's a little bit in your sizzle reel about that, but what propelled you and to rise and grind and actually work to create that?
I think it's, when I meet most entrepreneurs, they always, most of them become entrepreneurs because they felt that something wasn't being addressed in a market, and they keep thinking somebody else is going to do it, and then they go, if nobody else is going to do it, then I'm going to do it. And it came around 1989 when rap music was just really starting to get popular, and we were buying and consuming clothes from other brands who would laugh at us or say, we don't want African American or hip hop kids or inner city kids wearing our product. And I started to make product saying, well, who's ever going to make product, being happy of the consumers who's going to buy it. I opened the business in '89, and I closed it 3 times up until '92 because I kept running out of a little bit of capital that I had, but the business kept calling me back. People would say, well, you know what, I was looking for you last week at the Black Expo or the flea market, and you weren't there anymore. And I kept starting it again, and I realized I really just had a love and a passion for this, and I would do it for free for the rest of my life if I could. But then I had to start getting serious about it, and I started getting, inducting my friends and other strategic partners into the business, and I'd finally get public recognition right around '97.
So it took a long time.
Yeah, it took about 8 years to really start getting public recognition. I mean, everybody thinks that, as Robert always says on the show, every overnight success takes 15 years. Wow. It's a long period of time.
So how do you know when to take the plunge into entrepreneurship? We obviously have a conference here full of a lot of entrepreneurs, veterans that are looking at opportunities. What advice would you give them for them to take the plunge to actually follow their passion?
Well, don't quit your day job. All these people that tell you don't, quit your day job, go hard, they're full of crap, right? Set a couple of goals on how you're going to do it, and invest in, the first thing you invest in is educating yourself. Don't invest in anything else. Don't let somebody tell you, I need to build, I need to charge you $5,000 a month for a social media site, or wait to run your social media. You need to buy X amount of inventory. You got to use the power broke and step out and do it really slow and small. I worked at Red Lobster for 5 years during the course of the time of opening the business. And if you look at it, somebody would have said, well, why are you doing that? Well, I was making $30,000 a year, which is not a lot, but I had medical, right? I was bringing home all the food from Red Lobster to eat, so now I had some food. I was using all the waiters and waitresses to help me sell my stuff on the weekends. And at the end of the day, you know, I was sleeping 3 hours a night for 5 years. But I would have had to do $2 million in business in FUBU to come away with the same $150,000. And because I had the rent paid, I was also renting out my rooms in my house. I had a house and I was renting out my rooms for $50 to strangers a week.
The first Airbnb.
Yeah, I was getting robbed in the hallway on the way to the bathroom. But you know, all that sacrifice turned out until the business started to grow. It started to grow, and I made all those mistakes small, and I wasn't pressured because I, you know, was putting everything in the business and I didn't have a way to keep the lights on, right? So again, all real entrepreneurs, they act, they learn, and then they repeat. They start extremely small, and then they fail fast. I don't go to Vegas if I don't know blackjack and play $1,000 a hand. I go to Vegas and play $1,001 hands until I start to understand how to play blackjack.
All right. So a lot of people are obviously know you from Shark Tank or got to know you on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
How did Shark Tank find you, and what was the process for you to join the show?
I really don't know how they found me. I believe that I was doing shows such as Donnie Deutsch and The Big Idea and CNBC early in the morning. And I think Mark Burnett was watching at that time. And they called me up and they said, we got a show. And they said it's called Dragons Den. It was already #1 in London and Japan and Canada. We're gonna call it Shark Tank. We want you on the show. I said, absolutely. Contract comes over, says, you're gonna spend your own money. I said, these guys in Hollywood are crazy. Click, no way. So in Hollywood, you know, they're not used to hearing no. They kept calling me back. And I was like, all right, well, you know, they said you can't do any show but ours. And I said, well, at that time, I really did Shark Tank because it was '08. We were feeling the crunch. I had 10 clothing lines. 8 of them were dead because when people can't pay their mortgage, they're not buying any jeans, right? You just wear the same damn jeans for the rest of the year. So I was like, all right, I need to diversify my portfolio. What am I? Am I a clothing line or am I an expert at manufacture and distribution? Okay. I didn't put 3 sleeves on a t-shirt. I'm actually not a designer. I'm a manufacturer and distributor. So I want to be able to go to Macy's and take up aisle 7 for cosmetics. I want to take up the 2nd floor for electronics. Let me diversify my portfolio. Okay, I'm going to go on the show. They go, you can't do any other show but ours. But I was representing at the time the Kardashians in regards to product placement in their TV show, and I was going to be on their show 3 separate times for 3 minutes apiece. They said, you can't do any other show but ours. And I said, I'm a businessman. I'm not an actor or an actress. I'm a man of my word. I'm sorry, I can't do it. That turned them on even more. Khloe Kardashian found out I was going to turn down the show because of her, and she told me I wasn't allowed on her show. And Mark Burnett called back and said, hey, so I heard you're available. And I did the show.
Well, sounds like it turned out to be a good decision since we're 10 years from that time. What was it like to make your, you know, obviously your first investment in front of millions of people that, you know, every week everybody scrutinizes the decisions you make and the conversations you have?
The first investments we had and the first products we had were crap. They were just garbage on the show. Because the first year, nobody really knew the show and they didn't understand the show. You would try to describe the show to somebody and they would say, well, you're cleaning tanks with sharks? No. Well, who wins? Well, nobody wins. When do they get the prize money? You know, so they didn't understand that. So the first investment, and the people weren't business people. You know, if you look at it, like the casting agents weren't business people. They were great casting agents. So I know there's a lot of business people here. If you went on to the show to try to get onto the show and you told the casting agent, I'm doing $30 million and I have 1 employee, they didn't have the business prowess to say, 1 employee, $30 million, so you're selling crack, right? They didn't know what to ask. So the quality of the businesses were crap. So I did my first investment. I lost $750 the first year on the show. I lost, I think, $500 the second year. And the sharks started getting smarter. I realized I'm not supposed to deploy the money right away. I'm supposed to ask them, what's the use of proceeds? Over the course of time, you hit this marker, I'll give you more. Because some people will go off and build a $100,000 website when they needed a $2,000 Facebook page. They didn't know what they didn't know. So I started to find ways to make the money year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, and we got smarter too as a shark. We started to surround ourselves with retail experts and licensing experts and stuff like that. So the show all around has been a great education for me.
Great. So in that, I guess, how do you keep up with all the investments that you have made just on the shark? But I know that knowing you outside of Shark Tank, you make a lot of other investments.
Well, it's really, I have a great staff, and every year we hire another person. But, if you really look at it, let's say I have 60 investments right now from the show. 20 of them really are not doing well. And there's nothing really to say at that point, right? I mean, they're shaky, but there's nothing to say. Another 20 are like the Walking Dead. They're just waiting to die. And another 20 of them are great. If I stick my nose in it, I'd actually interrupt their progress. I really try to study the Walking Dead. I try to help them. And then the other ones, I'm just here for when they need me. But if I look at the ones who are successful in the show, they were going to be successful one way or another. Real entrepreneurs that are going to be successful, you can't stop them. And they use the sharks not like a crutch. They use them just as a stepping stone to say, you know what, this train is leaving the station. Do you want to get on it? One way or another, I'm going to succeed. So that's how I keep track of them, because it's really that middle 20 that you really need to help. And the other ones, the other investments, I don't have too many more outside. You and I were talking about one that I have, but I don't have too many others outside, just because Shark Tank takes a lot of time to really nurture those entrepreneurs, because it's babysitting at some point, but I'm also learning at the other side.
It's great. So obviously, Shark Tank's risen to global acclaim, and obviously you're surrounded some of the best experts in business. What shark's opinion do you trust most?
None, really. I mean, it has to be about something that is very specific to their world. But no, not really. I don't. No, not really.
So
well, let me correct that. Robert is one of the top 10 cybersecurity experts in the world. Okay, if I was talking cybersecurity, I would talk to him, and Barbara's really good at real estate. So again, it would have to be super, super detailed about something that I need to know. Great.
So in that, what do you see as some of the best next investments, I guess, in front of you? Not, just as in general, if a veteran was going, and I should say it like this, what are some of the best entrepreneurial opportunities or business opportunities that you see in the near future for maybe some of our entrepreneurs here?
It's challenging, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that, listen, everybody in the world is talking about Bitcoin and cannabis, right? I mean, that's the one they're talking about. It's such a hot commodity. But there is no best investment to me. The best investment is something that like the back of your hand, and that it's a world that you've grown up in or you have such a passion about that you can really create a movement around. Again, I didn't put 3 sleeves on a shirt. A shirt is a shirt. Right? At the end of the day, I don't believe there's nothing new in this world. I think there's a new form of it. There's a new customer. You make it lighter, faster, or stronger, but it's nothing new. I consider Facebook still it's a nasty chain letter, right? I think Airbnb is still, timeshare. Uber is just, putting geo-tracking with limousines, with limousine service. I mean, I was at, the Snuggie is still a blanket. It just has 2 holes in it. I hate to break it to you. I was at a college, and this wise ass got up, and he said, yeah, well, I know something new. I said, what's new? He said, emojis are new. I said, yeah, that's true. That's true, except for we used to call them hieroglyphics a million years ago, you morons. Sit down. So, it's just don't chase anything. What is something that's near and dear to you? Because in business, we're gonna go up and down, and then when you get hot, everybody's going to try to get into your business because it's hot this year. We all know that person who last year was an interior decorator. Today they're selling real estate. Tomorrow they're giving people colonics. You know that already. You know these people are going to try to jump in your business. So it's what are you super passionate about?
Wow. I guess you have a new family, and what decisions you make different now that obviously you have a family? I mean, you're obviously risk profiler. How do you look at the future differently?
My first marriage, I got divorced like many of us due to, I was young and I was running the business and working on the business, and I was so busy. I have 2 little girls and they're 25 and 20 now, and I was so busy going, I I have these 3 lives that I have to take care of, right? And how can I make as much money as I can to be responsible? And, you know, do I doubt if I should have ever committed myself to business that much? No, because if I was a sanitation worker, I would have worked 24 hours a day too to supply what I can for my family. Now, just getting married and having a 2-year-old, it's it's how much love can I give to this little girl, instead of before I was so busy just trying to take care of them. But more importantly than ever before, you know, something that I'm investing in is that, you know, 2 years ago, I went in to get a nodule removed off my thyroid, and the 1-hour surgery became 3.5 hours of removing stage 2 cancer that I didn't know I had in my body. And it was slowly moving to my lymph nodes. It was a golf ball size of cancer in my thyroid. And I realized that I had found out about it because of early detection, because I went and got an executive physical. And I realized that most entrepreneurs don't take care of ourselves. We take care of everybody else. We're so busy trying to often in business, we're not getting paid because we're paying for those employees or reinvesting in the business. Everybody tells us their problems. We can't tell them our problems. They think we walk on water. You can't tell your staff, if you don't get this one deal, you're gonna be out of business in another month because your staff will start leaving you. So there's mental health issues that we've seen with Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain that entrepreneurs suffer, as well as early detection. We don't take care of ourselves. So my goal and my biggest investment in how, for my family and for my life, is how do I get this message out to people to get them to urge their uncle or sister or brother or mother or father, go get a colonoscopy, endoscopy, a pap smear, mammogram. Because the only thing we don't talk about on Shark Tank is health. And health is the most important part of your business, right? If, you know, they say if a man or a woman has their health, they has 1,000 dreams. But if they don't have their health, they only have one dream. And that has been my new goal of what I'm gonna do so I can be around for my family, you know, for my little girl and my other little girls as well. So that's been my focus for the last 2 years, and I keep trying to find better ways to get this information out, because if, you know, there's a 60% chance if you can catch something early enough in time, you can beat it. And you know, I've gotten hundreds of letters from people saying they think that I've saved their life. So now I know why I got this public platform.
Wow. So obviously there's...
Thank you. Don't clap for me. You better go home and get early detection. Go to the doctor, please. Guys, how many men here are afraid of a colonoscopy? Afraid. Well, let me tell you what it is, guys. You drink some blue stuff, you go home and you go to the bathroom all day. The next day, you go in the room, they put a needle in your arm, you go to sleep. You don't even know they violated you when you wake up. You don't feel anything. I'm telling you, it was the best sleep I ever had.
So with that, obviously you've become quite the reflective person, and looking over the next 10 years of your professional career,
yeah.
What do you see? Who is Daymond John? What is Daymond John? Maybe beyond Shark Tank.
I've been investing a lot in, as you and I were talking about, of digital curriculums for people of all natures, people who are entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, because I think that that's the next wave of acquiring information. And it's also easy, you know, my daughter goes to school in Florida, and I remember calling her last year, and this is where really the lights went on. I said, hey, I'm coming down to see you. What time, I'm gonna be here Thursday or Friday. What time you get out of school? She was like, what are you talking about, Dad? I take digital classes. I'm not in school, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I was like, oh, what the hell am I paying you what am I paying so much for you to be down there eating pizza and kissing nasty ass boys, and I'm paying like $50,000, $60,000, for this. So I realized that the world is changing and the old system of schools are dead now. And you look at it like this, they say that the kids graduating today out of college, over 50% of them will retire with a job title that doesn't exist today. So how do you go to school to learn something that's not going to exist, or until 40 years from now, and you have college loans this high and things of that nature? It's not necessarily about the piece of paper that you have anymore. It's about your skill set. Now, don't get me wrong. If anybody here wants to go to college to be a doctor, please do. You can't learn that on a digital curriculum, probably, but
Probably.
not yet, right? But sooner or later, yeah. With AI, you will be. But so my recent investments have been on how do I broaden the digital curriculum base so people can learn more and more efficiently at obviously a reduced price and not have to, pay for it for the rest of their lives.
So tell me a little bit about Daymond On Demand.
So yeah, we were talking about Daymond On Demand backstage, and that's what I was talking about now, because I didn't realize when I was coming, I was like, wait a minute, we have this great platform. I have various different platforms, but one is this digital curriculum that's 8 hours, and it's all the lessons I've learned and all the landmines that I've stepped on in business that it took me 25 years to learn, and I put them in an 8-hour curriculum. But this is not like a video. This is something where if we're talking about the value of what's more valuable, a trademark or a patent? I have 100 patents that I couldn't protect, and I ended up spending $1 million on those patents. However, the trademark that only costs $2,500, you can't put FUBU on anything else without being a cease and desist happening. So I'm teaching people all those things, and also my best advisors. When I first made money, I got robbed for the first 5 or 6 or 7 years because you don't know who to go to. But after a while, now I have the right people teaching about patents and trademarks or taxes or how do you do target marketing, how do you increase sales, where do you find funding, and when you get funding, what do you use the funding on? A lot of people will sit there and say, I need funding for more inventory, but if you have one thing that's crap, having $1 million worth of inventory, you have $1 million worth of crap, right? So, so there's various different tools and lessons, and I'm gonna do a deal with you, obviously, to issue it out to people so that they can have the opportunity to read it or
Great.
see it.
We'll bring that. And I guess last, obviously there's a lot of veterans, and I know you traveled from Boston or going back, and I know AP and you have a relationship that goes back, but we really appreciate that. But maybe say a little bit, because I know that you came for the veterans and the fact that, it meant so much to you of what AP has basically created here, and you've kind of been hearing about this from a lot of different places. Why did you take so much time out of your schedule to come here? Because we do want to thank you for that, but would love to hear. And you were talking a little bit about backstage.
I mean, I've just been working with veterans for quite some time. I did a program with Bob Evans as well, Heroes to Farms. And, it's important. I think that one of the things I regret in my life is that I was so busy trying to take care of my mother, and if I wasn't able to go into the service at the time. I wish I did. So I value all the men and women that protect us and give me the right to be a free man on this stage. I also know that, I spoke to some veterans. I spoke to one veteran. He may even be here, because I remember talking about him 5 months ago. And I remember him saying to me, you know what, I couldn't get employed because I was a veteran, because people would think that I may have issues when I come into a workplace, and I think that couldn't be further from the truth. I think that people who will learn they're selfless, they work within a system, they know how to complete a job, and they're ready to lay it all on the line. I think those are the greatest people ever. And I think that veterans don't realize how much of an affection that people do have for them. And today, we're no longer blocked because we have social media. And you have millions of people that are veterans, spouses and family who can support whatever you're doing because they've been there with you. If you look at 20 years ago or even 15 years ago, there wasn't the Instagrams, the Facebooks of the world, so you were blocked by the gatekeepers. Now it's opened up where you can create a movement off of what you're doing, and I think that it's my job to hopefully, if I just change one veteran's life here and they go off and become the next Steve Jobs or Oprah Winfrey or Leslie Jarrett, then I've done my job. And make sure you give me a job when you get there. So anyway, I just have an affection for veterans, and of course for Aaron and AP and all you do. So I just want to really applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, with that, I would conclude this fireside chat. There's no fire here, thank God. But we want to thank you for bringing your talents and time and obviously sharing your story with us here today. And thank you for obviously flying across the country.
No, well, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.